All right, just a quick announcement. So it seems like all of the contestants are online, at least the ones who are set to give their report, their presentation today. We are still waiting for one judge to join us. She is in the process, so I suggest we give her just the final minutes, and we will be ready to start. Meanwhile, how about I actually ask for confirmation? So once again, is everybody hearing me all right? Is everyone seeing me all right?
Yes.
Is everything working properly from our side? It seems like it should be. If there are some problems, if you see that I'm moving my lips but you can't hear any sound, or maybe you for some reason can't enable your microphone or whatever, we still have a minute or two to talk this over.
So the microphone is working good?
Yep, your microphone is working just perfectly fine, and I expect we do have our final judge joining us for today. Let me just double check. Nope. Not quite. All right, we have most of our judges online at this point. The other judge is somewhere in the process. So I suggest we officially start our first day of competition and do our introductory part. First of all, I would like to welcome all the participants. It's a real honor for us to organize such an event and to have you as our participants and our guests. It's actually the sixth time we do arrange this event, and this time I'm really proud to announce that geography is really broad. We have some new cities joining us, and we have some new participants, new judges. So all in all, let's get to our introduction. So once again, our event is called Telebridge International Competition, Modern Model of Tourism Development, East and West. And this year we are going to have 4 different sections. So we are going to talk, actually even 5 different sections is what we have this year. So we are going to talk about information technology in tourism. We are going to talk about some new projects in tourism. We are going to present our promo videos for tourists of our cities. We are going to talk about tourism support policies, and we are going to talk about international youth tourism, new forms and prospects for development. Our work is going to be organized as follows. We are going to have 2 days for our competition, and we are going to have pretty much even number of contestants each day, depending on their section. And let me go ahead and introduce our judges. So our first judge, well, let's put it this way, in the order of my screen, and not in the order of importance. So to leave all the misconceptions and maybe misinterpretations. The first judge, all the way from the United States, Mark Kopp, who is an international traveler with a very rich experience, and who managed to get himself some international trips even this year, as early as in March, if I'm not mistaken. So greeting, Marks. Thanks for joining us. Our next judge, all the way from Australia, is John Smith, who has a very rich experience in actually working with the students and making them winners of events in such a manner, and who has a great experience in working in tourism as well. So John, thank you for joining us, and we'll hope to have some good event this year. Our next judge is from Vladivostok. She works in one of the biggest tour companies in our country. It's called Dialog Narodov, and she is the head of department there, Yana Gamilevskaya. Welcome, Yana. Thanks for joining us. And our last judge actually joined us just recently, Inna Nikulina. She is representing our local tour information center. Inna, thanks for joining us. Let's hope to have a good event. And let me introduce our contestants as well. So I guess we will briefly outline the universities which actually participate this year. And once again, let's do it in alphabetical order. So the first university is going to be Far Eastern State Transport University from Khabarovsk, Russia. Next one is Guangxi International Business Vocational College. Welcome. Also, we are going to have participants from Shanxi Polytechnic Institute, China. Welcome, guys. We are going to have participants from St. Petersburg University of Management Technologies and Economics. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we are going to have participants from Vladivostok State University of Economics and Service. So once again, different continents, different countries, and different views, I guess. So let's actually discuss. We did have some presentation requirements. I suggest we don't go over them to avoid wasting time. And I suggest we actually go straight down to business, and we actually give the floor to our first contestant. And our first contestant is going to be Mashinina Daria from Vladivostok State University of Economics and Service. Welcome, Daria. If you are ready, please enable your microphone and start sharing your screen.
Yes, I'm ready. Wait a minute, please. Okay.
All right, so I see your presentation. Whenever you're ready, we will start the timer.
Okay.
All right, so you're ready. All right, so let's go.
Yes. Okay. Dear participants, today we are talking about volunteers as a factor in the development of tourism. Tourism today is a significant segment of economic activity that affect many aspects of life. However, the events of the first half of 2020 challenged the process of globalization, slowing down or even completely stopping many mechanisms of socio-economic interaction in the service sector, in particular putting significant pressure on the sphere of tourism, transport, restaurant, and hotel business. In this situation, an important factor in the development of tourism sector can be the most active involvement of the volunteers in tourism activities. Volunteers participate in a variety of activities. Volunteers' activities in the modern format have long been developing in the world. The first peak of the volunteers movement in the United States was observed back in the 1930s, but international volunteers understood as the provision of unselfish and voluntary assistance to those in need has been officially formalized since 1995 in the federal law. Table first showed the main areas of volunteers. At the same time, since 2006 in Russia, in St. Petersburg, there is a first significant experience of combined volunteers and tourism, mobile tourist information angel service. They are responsible citizens with sufficient knowledge of the city. They can speak English fluently and orientate themselves. Their duties are to provide tourists with information about the facilities and emergency to call for the rescue service. It should be noted that in the context of attracting activities to this project, the financial factor is not the only one. Also, we have new ideas for development, a level of confidence, increasing visibility, increasing the attractiveness of the territory, and assisting in the work and expandation of scope of service. At the same time, the inclusion of volunteerism in the sphere of tourism in our country is still quite limited, but certain change took place after 2019, which was declared the year of volunteers in the Russian Federation. So, in the North Caucasus Federal District, a volunteer program to support the hospitality industry began in 2019. Also in Korean Development Center has social tourism volunteer, and Stavropol region has welcome volunteers. In this year, it's planned to increase interest in the project by organizing volunteers exchange and volunteers tourism. And the organizers expect that welcome volunteers will get publicity in the international level, and partner countries will join it. Further, table 2 shows the volunteers project and the potential functional task of the implement volunteers project. It's like health corps, social corps, foreign corps, media, eco, event direction, and so on. Needless to say that Primorsky Krai has a unique resource in this aspect. The volunteers centers of Primorsky Krai were the only ones in the Far East that recruits and trained volunteers for many international events. In total, according to the Association of Volunteer Center, 4 volunteer centers are officially active in Primorsky Krai. Also, on slide you can see international events with our volunteers. It's Olympic Games, FINA World Aquatic, and so on. This kind of research shows that the need for more active join actives of the volunteers movement and tourism professionals. As a result, in July 2019, the Tourist Information Center of Primorsky Krai, with the support of the Department of Tourism, launched the project Stripe Navigator. The main task was to help guests of Vladivostok provide information in the conditions of growing tourist flow. The main features of the project in 2019 are shown on the slide. However, the analysis of current trends dictate the possibility of making certain change, which, if adopt, will help bring the project to a new level. The following aspect can be noted here. On the next slide, you can see. Supplement and update the existing methodical information for volunteers. New catering establishment add links to social network of tourism attractions in the city. And the next slide, you can see a sample versions of the brochure. When selecting volunteers, need to reach out to the profile universities and areas relative to tourism service, foreign languages, to have development documentation. Organization of education and trainings for volunteers aimed to the development of such qualities and skills and communication, teamwork, first aid, learning foreign language, and increasing the competence of volunteers. Formation of a team consisting of coordination and subordinates, launching the first wave of volunteers. Proceeding of the obtained result, refinement of the program, development in those areas that have shown themselves to be reliable and successful. And the result, there is activities will strengthen the brand of the project Stripe Navigator, which in turn will increase its visibility and increase the geography coverage, expand the recruitment of volunteers, improve the competence of volunteers, which will ultimately lead to a strengthened image of the region as a tourist destination. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much. I suggest you don't close your presentation just yet, in case our judges actually have some questions related to your presentation. So, dear judges, what would you like to ask Daria? All right, how about I ask the first question? What would be did you study any foreign maybe experience in terms of organizing volunteer usage in tourism, or did you mainly focus on Russian experience? Because I've noticed in your presentation you did state that a couple of Russian regions actually start working in this regard, but I haven't noticed anything in terms of using volunteers for promoting tourism on international level. Did you do any research in this regard?
Thank you for your question. No, I didn't research any information about international volunteerism, but I searched so many times about our region, it's Primorsky Krai, and our city.
And do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that's all.
Do you think the experience will be much different depending on the country? So is your proposed way of attracting volunteers to do some work in tourism, is it going to be different when we talk about some other countries? And what could be the maybe the reasons for such differences?
I suppose yes, we have difference. First of all, I want to say it's because maybe we don't have such events like in North America or like in Europe, and it's like international events. Uh, Moreover, I want to say that maybe politician and social organization of country is the main factor of all.
All right. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I've got a question. There was a lot of information that came up quickly, probably too much for people to gather at any one time. But you're talking about volunteers. What is the and volunteers are very, very important, but sometimes it's very difficult to get volunteers. What is the most important aspect that you look for in a volunteer, and how do you recruit them?
Okay, thank you for your question. I think that the most important things with volunteers is wait a minute. Maybe openness and helpful people, I suppose, this one.
And there was the other parts. How are you going to recruit? What would be the sources?
I don't know how to answer this question.
Where do you find people who potentially could be volunteers?
I suppose at university, at schools, at college. In this place, I suppose I can find a lot of people who can work as volunteers and do this work well.
All right, sounds good. Do you have any further questions?
Sure. When you look at the volunteers, you mentioned, you primarily would recruit from the universities, but would you consider, maybe recruiting from people that are, at their retirement age as volunteers for information tourism? And one other quick question, if I can ask two at the same time, is one of the slides talked about volunteerism and then something about dealing with university agitation. I didn't quite understand that. Can you explain what that meant, the word agitation?
Agitation.
Do you remember which parts of the presentation it was? Was it in the beginning, in the middle?
Yes. Yes.
Because I
Maybe
missed that.
I can do like this.
There it is. Next, one slide back.
Here.
The planned program for agitation of students in educational institutions. I didn't understand that. Can you explain that for me?
Okay.
And just expound on what that means.
Wait a second, please. It's like program for agitation students. It's like a plan for people who will agitate the students. The students. It's like program for you're like work in volunteer center, and you need to bring new people and plan program for agitation. It's like you come to university and show how it's good to work at volunteers center.
All right, and I guess the very last question.
So
which
in essence, I think you're trying to say it would, in essence, you're saying it would stir up the interest for students in educational institutions to become volunteers.
Again, please.
Would that mean stirring up interest in these students to become volunteers?
I suppose yes, because many people want to be volunteers without program for without agitation program and so on. People
And while you're looking at the same slide, what kind of social and professional activities as motivation would that be? What does that include?
It's like maybe some grants and some score for, I don't know, for your life, maybe some diploma or something else for make your life easier or easier change. You can make a portfolio. It's like a social motivation, I think so.
Yeah, I guess we'll leave it for now. So once again, many questions. I guess that's a good part of our presentations. So thank you very much, Daria. And I
Thank you for all your questions.
all right, and I invite our next contestants to join. So next up, we are going to listen to Chen Han from Shanxi Polytechnic Institute. So if you are ready, yeah, Daria, please stop sharing your screen. And Chen Han, please open your presentation. And whenever you're ready, we are starting.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you. Could you please open your
Hi.
presentation?
Oh, no.
All right, it's loading. We see the presentation. All right, so
Hi.
yeah, if you're ready, we are starting.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chen Han, and I am a second-year student from Shanxi Polytechnic Institute. Today, I should like to give a presentation on technology changes tourism. It contains transportation, payment, health measurement, location, activity, live streaming, and virtual reality. Transportation provides an essential link between travelers and destination areas. They can not only book tickets online, but also get information about the vehicles they are riding as well. The most convenient and common traveling way by plane, high-speed train, and bus. Compared to high-speed train, normal train is cheaper. At the same time, it is also slower. Payment. When it comes to the way of payment, you can pay by using UnionPay, WeChat Pay, and Alipay. UnionPay is an online function created by the bank. The other two most used payment methods are WeChat Pay and Alipay. Compared to UnionPay, those two are apps which need to be downloaded on your phone and request to be connected to your bank account. WeChat Pay is actually a function attached to your WeChat. which is equal to WhatsApp, except without payment feature. When you pay, your money will be deducted from your bank card through this platform. Alipay is equal to PayPal. It is also connected to your bank card, but Alipay is more convenient than WeChat Pay for shopping online. Health measurement. With the outbreak of COVID-19, traveling through China became more difficult. Everyone needs to represent a green code by using an app on the mobile phone. This code is connected to your personal information and shows your movements around China. If no green code can be represented, then you can't take any public transportations nor enter public facilities. This is a mini app for health measurement, and this is a green code. Location. This is an important point for tourists. If their phones have installed a map app, they can easily find their way and won't get lost. Furthermore, they can get the information for restaurants, hotels, attraction sites, and so on. The most common apps are Baidu Map and A-Map in China. Activity. Nowadays, technology in tourism is developing rapidly. Therefore, tourism information websites are constructed actively. According to the statistics, 7,343 tourism-related websites in China, including official websites and outdoor tourism websites. The Dianping website is a typical example. It not only offers merchant information and customer comments, but also supports group buying, restaurant reservations. These tourism websites have become a window to display tourism products, carry out tourism promotion, and enhance tourism image. As the world is being ushered into the information age, adopting the information technology is rapidly increasing. It provides potential tourists with various pictures on destinations throughout the world. However, COVID-19 pandemic has exerted a tremendous impact on the tourism industry worldwide. Travel restrictions, quarantines, and closures of transportation have led to a huge decline of international tourist arrivals. Thus, there is a more prominent function of technology in tourism. One of the available new applications is live streaming. Social media have considerably changed the hospitality and tourism industry. More and more travel sites are publicized through social media. The advantage of it is that tourists are not limited to geographical location to enjoy the scenery. They can use their smartphone watching live streaming by TikTok and Kuaishou. There is a live streaming video about the Lijiang River. Let's watch it. Sorry, it's not work. So let's go into the next part. Virtual reality. It's more vivid than live streaming because it uses virtual reality technology to construct a virtual three-dimensional tourism environment on the basis of a real tourism landscape. Thus, the image is lifelike. Travelers just need to wear VR glasses. Then you can enjoy the scenery and do not need to go abroad. As for the sound, they could wear the headphones so that they can hear the sound easily. From the development trend of technology, it is available to feel the wind and smell the scents in the future. In addition, they can experience the special games of travel sites. And there's a VR experience video about Zhang Ye, but it's not work. So virtual reality tourism industry has made traveling accessible to every individual with the help of technology. Therefore, people who cannot travel due to any reason can still enjoy the same experience in a safe environment. In my opinion, technology connects us like an invisible line. We can feel the power of technology, especially under the situation of COVID-19. At the same time, it is also tangible because we use the products and services relying on technology. My competition comes to an end. Thanks for your attention. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I suggest you also don't close your presentation in case judges would like to ask any specific questions. So Mark, John, Yana,
Yeah.
Ina, any questions ready?
Okay. I would like to ask a question first, if possible. Now, you mentioned about map applications available for tourism or for tourists. Most of them are in Chinese. What about the foreigner who comes along, doesn't understand Chinese? Are there applications that will provide details on maps for a foreigner? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm unable to answer the question.
Okay, and another question would be, with COVID-19 causing problems across the world, what about virtual reality? If that doesn't work, you said about smell and sound and wind and things like that, but it doesn't give you a real feeling of actually going to a place. How do you overcome this with technology? You're talking about technology, so how would you overcome from your way of thinking to make it more realistic for the individual to think that they've paid a lot of money and they would want a good experience?
So it is definitely to make a lot of money, but under the situation of COVID-19, they have to use virtual reality, so that's the truth.
How can you make it real? How can you make it realistic?
Maybe the tour guide can explain something to them.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question, maybe somewhat similar, especially like in the first slide you were talking about, or the second slide, I guess, you talked about payments. And again, would there be payments that are available, in foreign type currencies of some kind? Or is it just the only form that you would see would be having to convert to a Chinese form of payment, which could be rather difficult even though you have all this technology?
These apps are only support in RMB.
All right. So it's basically it can only really be used by the locals, or unless a foreigner converted to the technological system that's used in the country. One other quick question.
Yeah.
You basically talked about, I enjoy the element of virtual reality as a change in technology. Would you consider maybe using that as a tool, for example, to be a method of selecting tours to different areas? For example, you might have a virtual technology of the hidden city and determine whether the tourist wanted to go see it based on the virtual reality tour. Or maybe, they show a virtual reality of the Great Wall and determine whether the tourist wanted to pursue that actually in person. Is that a viable alternative to using virtual technology?
Yes, it's a tool.
So it could be used in that manner as well.
It can be used tool.
Right.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Could I ask just one simple? Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, could I still interrupt you and maybe ask like a very small question? If you go down a couple of slides, you have a number of well, I think it is the number of tourism-related websites or something like this. So I think the number was 4,700 tourism-related websites in China. I think it was the number in your presentation. No. I think it was in front. I think you need to go down close to an end of your presentation. Yeah, and still down. A couple more slides. Yep. Yeah. No. The 8. Number 8. So slide number 8. Number 8. So one.
Number 8.
Yeah, number 8. Yeah.
One.
So 7,300 tourism-related websites. So once again, what does it include? Merchant information, customer. So how did you get this number? Just very briefly, could you give us the source and what are tourism-related websites?
It is from the internet.
All right. So you just found the total amount of searches of results if you type tourism.
Yeah.
China, something like this. All right. And what does it include? Tourism related. So does it relate only like tour agents, or does it also include food services? Does it include maybe excursions?
Customer comments. Yeah, that means some users can comment on the travel sites that they experienced.
All right. So basically, I suppose it should include many areas. So it's not really narrow. It's a broad sense of tourism, and it should include all the following blocks of information as well. Well, I guess we could leave it here for now if there are no further requests. And I would like to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And I would like to invite Wang Jiayue to give their presentation. So you could stop sharing your screen, and we would like to invite Wang Jiayue. All right, we can see your presentation, so you are ready to start.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wang Jiayue, and I come from Shanxi Polytechnic Institute. Today, my topic is about IT wisdom tourism. Here's the context of my topic. There are 6 parts. Significance of IT in tourism, process of traveling, VR tourism, virtual reality in tourism travel, development prospect, disadvantages. First, significance of information technology in tourism. Travel tourism, also called tourism technology and hospitality automation, is an application of information technology or information and communications technology in travel, tourism and hospitality industry. Some form of travel technology are flight tracking, pre-travel planning through online travel agencies and systems that allows tourists to review their experience. I'd like to show you the progress of traveling by using an example. When I go on a trip, the first thing I have to consider is where I want to go and how do I get there. For instance, if I want to go to Xi'an, I will search for some information on the internet. In places like Terracotta Warriors, I can listen to audio explanation about Chinese history by scanning a code with my mobile phone. After I've decided my destination, I need to buy a plane ticket, book a hotel room, think about the attraction I want to visit, and what kind of local food I might want to have to try. The first thing I need to do is go online, fill in the information for buying an air ticket, and then I will look for a hotel. Here I'm able to compare the price and to find a suitable hotel which meet my expenses. After that, I can look for interesting sights to see. When I arrive at a scenic spot, I'm obligated to scan the health code to enter the facility or area because of the current health control measurement. After visiting attraction, people usually get hungry and want to try the local food. I can use an app or website to find a restaurant nearby, or if I'm exhausted after a long day, I can order some local dishes to my hotel room. Furthermore, with this app, I'm able to book tickets for activities online to skip the line. Compared with traditional travel, these new technological ways save time and money. 3. VR tourism. Display of scenic spot. VR panoramic display integrates picture, video, audio, 3D social interaction, and other display methods. With the help of VR panorama, scenic spots can be shown its unique tourism resources and advantages in a more creative way and attract more tourists to visit. All-round display. In the past, tourists could only see scenic spots through picture and video, but VR panoramic display can resolve the scenic spot without a dead angle at 720 degrees. Users can reroute the display freely at 360 degrees and look wherever they want, which brings a more strong sense of reality and three-dimensional outlook to the viewers and enhance the interaction. Save cost. Compared with advertising and promotional video, the cost of VR panoramic display is lower, the effect is better, and the information can be easily transmitted. The addition of black technology can arouse the curiosity of tourists, which is suitable for the applications for modern network. Next, increase the flow of tourists. VR panoramic display can enable tourists to have a comprehensive experience of the environment and surrounding facility in a scenic spot before traveling, so as to improve the export rate to achieve the purpose of attracting tourists. Virtual reality in tourism.
VR app developers make two different images or models of the same object, placed at angles that are slightly different from each other, one for each eye. Then we have to use VR hardware like Google Cardboard or Oculus Rift to have 3D review of that image or model. Virtual reality in tourism and tourism industry has started adopting the virtual reality technology to maximize customer engagement and enhance the customer-centric marketing method, offering the modern customer a chance to virtually visit a place before making their final decision is definitely a game changer. For marketing and promotions, VR media make a huge difference. Virtual reality tourism industry has made traveling accessible to every individual with the help of simulator. Therefore, people who cannot travel due to any reason can still enjoy the same experience in a safe and protected environment. Development prospect. When we want to go on a trip, we forgot to repair the strategy or don't want to do it. The Artifact app can help you. You enter a place where you want to go and the system will generate its own and help you book hotel, find restaurants, and create and execute route. It effectively replaces the tour group and save time for the young generation. Just enter the basic information, such as travel destination, travel days, departure date, and the number of people, and the intelligent robot will work an optimal rate for you in 3 minutes. Additionally, you can book all the hotel at one time, go on a trip at any time. Develop different travel models for people of different ages, such as the elder and some people with limited mobility. Disadvantages. Even though internet is convenient to us, there are some disadvantages. For instance, the security of information needs to be improved. There may be information leakage. Identified information could be stolen by hackers. Furthermore, some companies steal customer information to make a profit, especially when we book hotel or booking tickets online. In addition, network and other communication methods for the elderly are not easy to operate. There are pros and cons to information technology, which need to be used wisely. It has become a new tool of communication for a new medium, a new mass culture, and a new platform of VR. VR tourism not only meets the needs of tourists to see cultural relics, but also can protect the cultural relics well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear judges, any questions?
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question. Can virtual reality replace real tourism in the future? What do you think?
Maybe I think virtual reality will replace the people where they want to go, because internet development very fast in today, and with the development of technology develop this VR will develop very fast.
So, do you think that the virtual reality is just a part of tourism, or it can be just a full part of tourism, or just, you know?
I think it can be used widely. It plays a tour.
Mm-hmm.
A role play or tour.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was a very, very good question because it's part of what I was going to ask. But all the things that you have asked, all the things that you presented were in Chinese, and I know for a fact that when a foreigner travels in China,
Yes.
and foreigners do not have ID cards,
Yes.
foreigners just have passports, they have great difficulty in either booking a plane, going on the rail. I mean, to go on the high-speed train, it is very, very difficult.
Yes.
Are there any apps that are catered towards foreigners?
I think.
In other words, are there any apps that are developed specifically for foreigners who visit China?
I think there may be some professor to search for some information and try to develop it more deeper. And someone, if just a foreigner come to China or other places, they can use maybe form to copy the ID card and to use the new form.
But they cannot use a local ID card. They have to present their identification at the counter, the counter where they buy the ticket. It's not a case of using someone else's ID or anything like that. I mean, this is about tourism for everyone, foreigners as well as locals. What is it? How can you encourage foreigners to come and use the information technology that is available to local people to have the same experience as local people? It's very, very frustrating. I can tell you.
Maybe our country can improve our system to let the foreigner to support this technology, and will more deeper than before. We need the country help this country support this new form. Yes.
Okay, and my second question would be a follow-up on the first question. Do you think that VR will replace actual tourism? And if it does replace tourism, what about the people who are employed in the tourism industry?
Many audio challenges, consideration and need are being exposed as work with VR. So I think VR cannot replace the people go there to see the scenic spot, because they can't hear anything, they can't smell anything. I think this system may be fit for coronavirus or not.
So after the coronavirus, we can go back to reality, and people can have feet on the ground and actually travel and touch and smell things.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a quick question, if you could give a little more explanation on how the virtual reality is going to increase the flow of tourism. I'm not sure how that increase is accomplished.
Increased. Okay. Let me give you some more details. VR panoramic display can enable tourists to have a comprehensive experience, the environment and surrounding facility in a scenic spot before traveling, so as to improve the exposure rate and to achieve the purpose of attracting tourists. Yes, VR is a new technology. Many young generation will like it because it has lot of work, such as we can listen to the we can watch video, and we can travel in a home.
All right, so I guess you're saying that if they watch the video, then maybe they will be more inclined to go on the tours
Yeah.
themselves. Okay. And have you tried using the Oculus 3 or any of the virtual reality glasses?
Yes, when I get into the cinema, the virtual reality is important. It makes me very happy and excited.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, all right. I guess if there are no further questions, then we would like to thank you for your presentation, and we would like to invite Chen Tin Yue for their presentation.
Okay.
All right, there's some echo, but we do see your presentation. Could you tell a couple of words for us to see if there is any echo in your room? Could you just say something like, yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Good evening, everyone. My name is
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chen Tingyue, and I come from Shanxi Polytechnic Institute. My topic is new forms and prospects of international youth tourism after COVID-19. My presentation have 3 parts, respectively are what young people like to do, confronting problems, and new forms. What young people like to do. Young people mostly like adventurous or exciting activities. This can be distinguished from the way they travel. Young people like to get information from the internet and then travel alone or with friends of their same age. For example, I want to go to the city Xi'an. As a young person, I would check the spots suitable for the use on the internet in advance. As is known to all, Xi'an is a city with profound historical and cultural heritage. The most famous scenic spots are the city walls, the terracotta burials and houses, as well as historical relics such as Bell Tower, Drum Tower, and museums. These sites may be boring for young people to visit, because most of them are not interested to read about or listen to historical facts. They think it's dull. But Xi'an also have a trendy side. Young people come to here to experience the danger of climbing Huashan Mountain Music Festival, the excitement of walking on glass skywalks, bungee jumping, and so on. Confronting problems. There are 2 main types of problems, general and current problems. Before the outbreak of the epidemic, the problems faced by international youth tourism are firstly personal safety, because they are visiting an unfamiliar country. They can't speak the complicated language, and foreign visitors can be tricked easily since they are usually very kind-hearted and helpful. Secondly, lack of funds is usually the main problem, especially because most of them are students or just started a job, so they don't have a sufficient financial basis. According to research, Young people spend 4 times as much money on travel as others. Thirdly, visa regulation makes youth tourism difficult. Young people like travel freely and with a quite flexible itinerary. They don't like trips which are planned in details and tend to extend their journey. They report the most memorable travel experiences are often those that are unexpected. But everyone who applies for a tourist visa for China needs to provide a detailed plan when and where they will be during their trip. Under the influence of international environment, international tourism is facing some problems and difficulties, such as the coronavirus in various countries. Several countries closed their borders for international visitors to prevent the spreading of the virus in their country, which leads to a current stop of international tourism. In addition, complicated relations between countries may affect the international tourism as well. New forms. Now, there are a lot of new forms of youth tourism. The first one is study and travel, which is quite popular. There are a lot of different ones. The purpose and choices are diverse, like being an exchange student or a full-time student with the goal of getting a degree. But after the outbreak of the epidemic, only a small number of people are able to travel for study. Those people might be medical students in order to learn foreign medical technology or to exchange experience about the epidemic situation in order to help. Another form of tourism is international volunteer travel, which allows students or young people to take part in public welfare activities in different areas organized by national or international organizations. For example, volunteers could teach children in poor areas, build schools for children there, and bring enjoyment for a time to them. Additionally, they can join the cause of rescuing and helping injured or disabled animals. In an epidemic situation, professional medical volunteer teams can go to the areas with underdeveloped medical level, treat local diseases, and popularize simple medical and health knowledge to them. For the future, another form of traveling could increase the youth travel tourism, group travel. It is mainly used for elderly or families, but it could be used to attract young tourists as well. During this trip, activities could be exclusively for young people, like practicing Chinese Kung Fu, walking over glass bridges, or getting chased in a ghost house. So far, although the epidemic has been largely under control in most parts of the world, it is still not safe. In this case, people are confined to their homes for their own safety, and if this situation continues for a long time, it can lead to depression. So people came up with a way to change the situation. Technology is the solution. It can be used to travel without stepping one foot outside your door. You can choose any place you'd like, and as long as you put on VR goggles, because virtual reality tourism is the use of virtual reality technology based on the authenticity of the tourist landscape. It has 3 advantages. First of all, because it's very safe. Secondly, it is convenient for viewing. VR panoramic display can restore the scenic spot and 720 degree without dead angle, and user can rotate the display at will and 360 degree. They can look wherever they want, which brings a more strong sense of reality and stereo to a fairs and enhances interactivity. Finally, its cost is very low, which makes it accessible to as many people as possible. On the one hand, it's a great invention which can help people who have insufficient funds, but on the other hand, young people still like to feel the experience, like smiling flowers, tasting the local dishes, and touching the souvenirs. This can be done without actually going there. I think the development of new forms of tourism will greatly boost of the development of international youth tourism programs. It gets young people out of their comfort zone, exploring the unknown possibilities and seeing a big world. They are able to make friends with other young foreigners, exchange new ideas, and experience different cultures. In a word, international youth tourism has broad prospects and infinite possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, do we have any questions? Would anyone want to start?
A simple, very interesting presentation there. When you talked about VR, virtual reality tourism, would such a form of tourism really be profitable?
I think is suitable. Is yes.
I guess let me rephrase and ask from my perspective. So, do you think VR in tourism can actually give you money? Is it really good for companies? Can they earn a lot of money selling something related to VR?
Because of virtual reality's cost is very low, I think everyone can have.
All right. Can I also ask one question? Why do you think these types of tourism, which you mentioned in your presentation, why do you think they would be interesting for youth tourists especially? So why do you think, what youth tourists would enjoy the most, and why are they like the target audience? So why youth tourists especially would like these types of tourism which you mentioned? Volunteer tourism, VR tourism, and other types of tourism in your presentation. What do young people have which would allow them to enjoy these tours, these products?
I think young people like adventures and even dangerous things, and the study travel and volunteers guarantees young people's safe and let young people learn some extra skills. . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。
All right. Can I also ask one question?
this activities is more than interesting.
All right, thank you very much. John, do you have any questions?
Yes, I've just got a couple. One concerns volunteers, and you mentioned the problems with visa regulations. How long, for example, you gave you covered different forms of volunteering, including medical, and going and helping, teaching, or to build schools, etc. How long can a volunteer spend in China?
I think the medical team or medical students is run school or company, and this help them to solve this visa problem, and
Okay, so you don't really know how long they would spend. I think you'll find that a visitor, a foreigner, can spend 30 days in China. The second thing is VR. Now, in lots of presentations, including yours and others, VR has sort of had some form of significance. Do you think that actually VR might replace tourism, whereby foreigners from any country outside China can use VR to look at things in China, history, the culture, the terracotta warriors, the wall around Xi'an and other places, rather than actually come to China and visit? I mean, they can do everything using VR. Do you think that might be the case in the future?
Virtual reality is other country is research and more and more better, and the prospects is very widely development in is replace the real tourism, and after the COVID-19, the coronavirus is become better, or the people want to go, they want to tourism everywhere.
It is rather interesting when when you use the virtual reality glasses. I tried the Oculus 3, and right in my living room, I could see, Athens and Paris and Rome, and like Mr. Smith said, then I've seen it. I'm not necessarily, maybe I don't need to go see it in person. So is virtual reality really a positive, or is it maybe a negative?
I think virtual reality is positive.
Because
Because it helps people in the COVID-19 solve the tourism situation, security, and not everyone to have enough funds to tourism. Perhaps the future to use projector VR or game security training.
But I think Mark has got a very good point, because in fact, where he is from his home, he could actually go anywhere in the world. Why would he want to spend the money to visit some place unless he really wanted to smell, to feel, and actually get a sense of being there? I mean, I think VR is going to change tourism significantly. And COVID-19 is here for the next year or so, and countries have got to learn how they're going to get around the coronavirus pandemic with regards to vaccinations and travel, because the tourist industry has taken a significant hit. Okay, that's enough for me.
Yeah, I guess that's more of a comment than a question at this point. Are there any further questions? I think it's enough. It's more than enough. And I would like to thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Next up, I invite Maltseva Ksenia to give her presentation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We just need Tingyue to stop sharing her screen. Yeah, and she's done that. So Ksenia, you may get ready sharing your screen. All right, we see your presentation.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear participants. Today I would like to present my report about military historical tourism as a promising direction of yacht tourism in Primorsky Krai. So, yacht tourism is hardly a new phenomenon, however, it's one of the fastest growing and most dynamic markets in the global tourism sector. UNWTO estimates that about 20% of international tourists were young people. It's worth recognizing that the importance of this market goes far beyond numbers. Young people are recognized as one of the main forces influencing the development of social change. Young travelers are relatively fearless and less likely to be stopped by economic problems, political unrest, or health epidemics. The World Yacht Students and Educational Travel Confederation survey of yacht travelers' opinion indicated that health, global threats, and pandemics have less impact on their travel plans. In the current conditions of certain global shifts in the field of tourism, this shows that young people should be targeted, because yacht markets are more stable than tourism market as a whole. The relevance of yacht tourism in the modern world to a certain extent can be determined by the fact that young people are often money poor but time rich. Young people often take much longer trips than most other tourists. Young people, due to their desire to travel as often as possible and for the longest period of time, often cover certain tourist niches that are unacceptable under normal conditions to the mass consumer and also act as trendsetters. Only 50% of international travelers are traveling for the purpose of holidays, but the other 50% are undertaking experimental travel. However, according to UNWTO research, the goals of young people's travel can also include learning, getting to know other people and cultures, engaging in a broader range of activities that identify the source of self-development and self-identification. It's worth noting that one of the goals of youth tourism is often the search for any adventure, because young people are the most dynamic and active part of society, which strives for innovative change and new research. Young travelers want to make a difference to the life of local communities, and it has been effective in encouraging dialogue and mutual understanding between cultures. That is why it makes sense to attract young people to military historical tourism, which is able to meet their needs for adventure and become a factor that shows their interest in learning new things. Researchers consider the concept of military historical tourism from different views. So on the slide you can see three definitions of military historical tourism in the general, in the narrow sense, and in the broad sense. At the same time, in general, military historical tourism has the following forms of the representation of historical heroic events. You can also see it on the slide. Military historical tourism can be divided into the following three areas: gun tourism, military tourism, and event and excursion tourism. Thus, military historical tourism is a direction that can be interesting to young people due to the possibility of meeting their needs for adventure. The resource base of military historical tourism directly allows young people to get interactively acquainted with the heritage and to define travel not just as a relative brief escape from the reality, but as an integral part of everyday life, in which through adventure events they can build an image of the world. At the same time, from the point of view of destination, the military historical tourism can be represented by following three levels. So it's subject special environment of the person, value-oriented component of the environment, and also information component of the environment. It's no doubt that military historical tourism in Russia is developing successfully due to the rich historical heritage of the country. The development of military historical tourism is currently considered as a priority area of tourism industry in the country. Measures to restore and adapt the use of military heritage tourist facilities for tourist purposes are being carried out. The number of relevant festivals and events is growing. If we consider Primorski Krai from the point of view of a region that could attract young tourists with its military heritage, we should note one of the main elements of the military historical tourism: the Vladivostok Fortress. The Vladivostok Fortress is a special fortification object, which is a complex of long-term defensive structures built in late 19th, early 20th century in Vladivostok and its surrounding areas. The Vladivostok Fortress is a unique object in many respects. First of all, the defensive structure was the most powerful and advanced fortification complex not only within our country, but also on a global scale. The Vladivostok Fortress is not a single concrete structure. It's mainly a huge military historical complex, including, according to the Vladivostok Fortress Museum Research, more than 800 objects, among which there are defensive structures, infrastructure facilities, and also communication. Almost all the structures of fortress that are available for inspection and visiting are used as objects of the excursion display. The only exceptions are those for access to which is prohibited or is difficult from a transport point of view. It's worth noting that currently, due to a number of factors, the most popular object of the fortress for young people is the Paspel Fort. The fort is a somewhat local structure compared to other objects, which doesn't have dangerous underground sections. At the same time, the Paspel Fort is located in transport accessibility, which allows young people easily to get to the object both by car and by regular buses. Of course, it's impossible not to appreciate the beauty of the scenery that opens from the fort. The sea views of the city often become a popular reason to visit the structure. At the same time, the fortress is currently a fairly popular military historical object, with a number of excursion routes from Vladivostok Digging Club and Vladivostok Fortress Museum Research. Despite the fact that the fortification of Vladivostok is almost completely accessible for independent tourist inspection, the roads and the proposed tours are in particular popular among young people. First, this may be due to the fact that most of the excursions cover the dungeon of the fortress, and young people are especially focused on its research because the roads laid through the dark pools are almost the main adventure component of the tour. Secondly, in most cases, due to the transport and accessibility, young people can only get to the fortress on foot, so it corresponds their desire to be active. In general, the demand show a positive trends regarding the growth of young people's interest in military historical resources. The number of tours and offers is growing. Methods of organizing programs aimed at attracting people to the peculiarities of military history are being improved. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much. So, some questions, please.
I have one question. Did you visit the Vladivostok fortress?
Of course, I visited all objects of the Vladivostok fortress. Especially, I would like to say that my favorite object is fort number 4, and also I would like to add that all photos of the fortress in this presentation is mine. So, for example, on this slide, you can show this girl, and it's girl is me.
And what do you think about condition of Vladivostok fortress?
Thank you for the question. It's very interesting. I think that Vladivostok fortress is an object that have lots of many conditions. First of all, some objects has very bad conditions. It depends on many factors. The weather and the sea climate is the first problem. But I think that the main part of defensive structures, like forts, batteries, they have normal conditions and they are ready for the mass consumers.
Thank you very much for your answer.
I have a question. I find it's a very interesting subject, military and young people. It's like an oxymoron. What research have you done to show that young people are actually interested in military history? Whereas people would probably think that young people are more interested in the environment and, you know, things like that in general. Why would they be interested in the military? And I ask that purely because I have a military background.
Okay, thank you for the question. It's very interesting, and in my opinion, it requires more detailed analysis. Nevertheless, I think that young people, that military historical tourism is a direction that will be interesting to young people because military historical tourism can help them meeting their needs for adventure and also became the factor that can help them to build the image of our world, of our country, of our, maybe I don't know, other things. And military historical tourism is such direction that, in my opinion, is very promising because it's very perspective. Because now young people are becoming more active, more dynamic, more responsible, and more educational, of course.
Thank you. And just a final small point. You said that young people are time rich and money poor, and yet you said that they, as an average tourist, they spend 2.77 times the amount of other tourists.
You told
up to 2.77 times the average tourist spending per trip, and yet you say that they are actually money poor. How can they do that?
Okay, I used the data from World Young Students and Educational Traveling Confederation, and they the data said that with the average total of about 3,000 euros on the main trip compared with an average of 1,000 euros per the trip for international tourists globally. First of all, it depends on the fact that young people always travel for the longest period of time than other tourists, so they spend more money because they spend more time in the country.
Might it also be the fact that there are more young people, perhaps as you are saying, that are visiting the historical military sites, and that the volume is what increases the amount of money that is spent by this particular group rather than the individual spending?
To be honest, it's a very difficult question for me because it requires more detailed analysis, and I think I should study it more extensive in the future.
I guess the last question I have would be, you say it becomes kind of a priority of the tourist industry to look at the military historical tourism, but is the purpose really, you think, more for the adventure, I guess perhaps because of the expeditions, or is there an element of, actually learning from the past to see what lessons can be learned?
If I correctly understand your question, I can say that military historical tourism in Russia is development. I'm sorry, it was a little mistake. Military historical tourism in Russia is developing successfully, so it can be oriented to the young people because the rich historical heritage of our country is really, I don't know, maybe really huge complex that can consider it as a priority area, not only like a tourism industry in the country, but also like a factor that can invite young people in our country because military historical heritage, in my case, can show young people all beauty of history of the world and of my country.
I guess in a manner of speaking, when you visited the military historical sites, were you visiting more for education, or were you somewhat visiting just for the, in a manner of speaking, the expedition of just walking around the environment and seeing the area, as well as getting some education, but the walking around and seeing the environment was perhaps more important than the, quote, educational value per se?
It's I don't know how to understand it maybe, but to be honest, I try to explain maybe that the Vladivostok Fortress, how Vladivostok Fortress can invite young people in the country. So it's really difficult question for me, and I don't know really how to get an answer, how to give an answer. So maybe I should study it more, and in the future I think I will know how to understand it more successfully.
Okay, can I just follow it up from Mark? When you actually visited it, why did you visit it? Was it because of historical reasons? Was it to actually get a sense of feeling of what happened perhaps in the Second World War? Or was it just an adventure for you?
Okay, first of all, if we will talk about Vladivostok Fortress, we should know that there were no wars or huge battles in territory of my region, so the fortress is still the only object of military historical tourism. In all cases, it's the only resource of military historical base. So I think that in general, Vladivostok Fortress can show young people about historical aspects, for example, and also I told it in a presentation that about adventure component of all tours. If we will talk about Vladivostok Fortress, it's maybe due to the fact that most of excursions cover the dungeon of the fortress, and young people are especially focused on its inspection and research, because routes, lasers, dark pools are almost the main adventure component of the tour. So when young person focused on dungeon of the fortress, it looks like a adventure component of the tour. But when young people try to understand the secret of the fortress, its structure, its history, its maybe another positions, they understand it from the historical point of view. They understand that Vladivostok Fortress is a unique object, so it can tell us about lots of different things, lots of important things, valuable things, of course, and maybe I think that Vladivostok Fortress is a source that can help young people understand the history, the chronology of our world, our country. In my opinion, maybe it's not correct, maybe it's wrong, but I think so.
Okay, thank you. That's a very, very good answer. Long, but good.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I guess we better leave it here for now. And I would like to thank you for your presentation. And I would like to invite our next contestant. So I would like to invite Dudina Alexandra with her presentation. So Alexandra, if you're here, could you please start sharing your screen? All right, we can see your screen. So if you're ready, let's go ahead. Could we just double check your audio? We can't hear you at the moment.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
Good afternoon, dear Commissioner, maybe good evening for someone. My name is Alexandra and I present St. Petersburg University of Management Technologies and Economics. The topic of my report is modern trends in the development of the hotel services market in St. Petersburg. Why I'm interested in this topic? Because I'm a third-year student studying in the hospitality industry, and I'm interested to know how the hotel services market is developing in St. Petersburg. Okay, let's start. Tourism in St. Petersburg is an important branch of the city's economy. It is a tourist business associated with the reception of guests from foreign countries and other regions of Russia, and the resulting economic activity in the service sector, which plays a significant role in the economy of St. Petersburg. Last year, St. Petersburg was visited by 10.4 million tourists, but in 2020, only 2.9 million tourists visited St. Petersburg, of which 2.4 million were citizens of the Russian Federation, and only 0.5 million were foreign citizens. Compared to 2019, the volume of inbound tourist traffic decreased by more than 70% due to the novel coronavirus infection. According to the Committee for the Development of Tourism of St. Petersburg, at the end of 2020, the total supply of high-quality format 3-star to 5-star hotels in St. Petersburg amounted to 146 properties. The total number of rooms at the end of 2020 amounted to 23.5 thousand units, which is 1.3% less compared to 2019. In 2020, there were no major hotel openings on the St. Petersburg market. In 2021, it is expected to open 4 hotels with a total number of 523 rooms. 2 hotels are international brands and the other 2 will be independent hotels. Despite the imposed restrictions that were in effect throughout 2020, the hotel real estate market was replenished with 1 hotel, Kraft Nevsky Hotel and Spa, 4 stars. It has 95 rooms and is located in the central district of the city. Among the highest quality hotels scheduled for commission in 2021, it should be noted the 5-star hotel, Wahlberg Hotel, and as well as 2 4-star hotels, Mercury and Heron. The structure of the proposal has not been changed. The Central Admiralteysk and Moskovsk regions are the leaders in terms of the number of high-quality rooms. The largest number of rooms is presented in hotels of the 4-star level. In terms of the total number of format hotels, the first place is taken by 3-star object, 53%. Service apartments are actively continuing to increase the volume of supply on the market, increasing their share in the total volume of the city's room stock. At the end of 2020, the room stock of service apart hotels increased by 64% compared to 2019, which is associated with the active development of the segment. The rate of commissioning of objects remained at the level of 2019, having slightly increased by 1.2%. The author believes that this segment will continue to develop, and in the context of attraction international operators, it can seriously compete with classic hotels. According to the Tourism Committee, 2.9 million tourists visited St. Petersburg in 2020, a drop of 72% over the year. The number of foreign tourists who managed to visit the city before the restrictions were imposed amounted to 500,000 people. The annual decrease exceeded 80%. As for domestic tourism, in 2020, the number of Russian tourists visiting the city decreased by more than 2 times. Considering that the tourism industry has suffered significantly due to the introduction of a ban on holding mass events of more than 1,000 people, as well as due to postponement and cancellation of major events such as Euro 2020 or CPIF 2020, the city government adopted in 2020 3 packages of support measures for enterprises in the industry. The first is amendments for financial support. The second is tax breaks in 2020 and 2021. And the third is one-time cash grants. And now the author will talk about the main operating indicators of hotels. ADR, what is it? According to the Hospitality Dictionary, this is the average daily room rate. At the end of 2020, the average accommodation rate, or ADR, is non-network hotels decreased by 26.4% and amounted to 2,941 rubles. The largest decline was noted in May 2020 by 54.1%. The maximum average tariff in 2020 fell in August, when the maximum number of restrictive measures was lifted. The percentage of occupancy of the room stock, OCCC, for the year was 37.9%, which is 1.8 times lower than a year earlier. Average profit per room, or RevPAR, showed negative dynamics, having decreased by 60.3%. This is the lowest figure for the last 5 years. The operating indicators of the hotels, namely ADR, OCC, and RevPAR, indicate a pessimistic trend. The average price for a room in 2020 decreased by more than 50%. In comparison, for example, with May 2019, where the price was 5,026 rubles and became 2,300 rubles. Hotel occupancy rates are also showing negative dynamics. Take April 2019, for example, when the occupancy rate was 71%. And in 2020, this indicator decreased by 89.7% and is only 7.4%. All operating indicators of hotel in St. Petersburg fell several times due to the pandemic of the new coronavirus infection. In St. Petersburg, the weighted average occupancy of international branded hotels in 2020 was 29%, which is 57% less than in 2019. The market weighted average decreased by 27% to 5,100 rubles. Revenue per available number, or RevPAR, fell by 69% and amounted to 1,400 rubles. For comparison, RevPAR 2019 was 4,600 rubles. The luxury segment showed the lowest utilization rates, only 22%. As a result, RevPAR decreased by almost 4 times and amounted to 3,400 rubles. In 2021, hotels are expected to operate at less than 46% occupancy, while the annual occupancy of luxury hotels at the upper limit of the high price segment will be 26 to 36%, while maintaining closed borders. Foreign tourists will return to the city no earlier than midsummer 2021, mostly tourists choosing 4-star hotel rather than luxury hotel accommodation. The most tangible recovery in demand is expected in the high segment and the upper limit of the mid-price segment, where the occupancy, according to experts, could grow up to 46%. The luxury segments and the upper limit of the high price segment will significantly lag behind in terms of recovery. RevPAR growth will be 20% by 2020. At the same time, in all segment 21, RevPAR will be on average 60 to 65% lower than the 2019 level. And in conclusion, the author wants to believe that the occupancy of the hotel room stock will be maximum regardless of the category of hotels, and St. Petersburg is ready to host foreign tourists again and tell the story of our wonderful city. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much indeed. So, any questions, please? Who would like to start?
I guess I can start. I think it was, a fascinating study of the past year or so compared as a result of the tremendous decrease in tourism. But it seemed a little strange. I thought we were talking about development of hotel services, and it kind of comes across as a result of the COVID situation as the non-development of the hotel services and marketing. But the information was very, very fascinating. One question I did have is, you talked about service apartments. Does that include something like the Airbnbs or not?
Sorry, I probably have communication problems. Could you repeat your question, please?
In your presentation, you talked about service apartments, and I'm asking, does that include apartments like Airbnbs?
Airbnbs? I don't know what it is.
Okay, that's fine. Usually when I travel, I do spend sometimes at hotels, and sometimes I actually spend many places in foreign countries at their bed and breakfast locations that are on the internet.
I can say that
Thank you.
Service apartment is it likes an apartment with own bathroom and kitchen where guests can cook.
Okay.
The hotels across the world have taken a big hit with regards to the coronavirus pandemic. And I've certainly noticed that during my time in China, talking to lots of former students who are working in hotels and managers, etc., and also when I returned to Australia. With regards to St. Petersburg, what do you think, how do you think that you could attract more tourists to stay in the hotels? I mean, you are developing more hotels, but how are you going to fill them?
Oh, it's very so. It's very difficult question for me because I don't have enough experience in this area. I just started working at the hotel this year because of my study, and maybe
if you were the hotel manager, I know it's very, very difficult, but if you put on the hotel manager's hat, and you were paid, of course, as a hotel manager, the general manager, what do you think you could do to attract more people to stay at your hotel?
okay. Maybe we can create special offers at attractive prices. Why not?
Okay, and?
And
just think you're going to be paid a very, very good bonus if you can attract more guests to your hotel. How would you encourage them? I mean, making special offers would be very, very good. What else could you do?
we can create good living condition for these tourists and with a fun animation program.
Okay.
I want to say that I'm working in the guest house, but 2 years ago it was an ordinary free-start hotel, but after the Hovanska law, it became a guest house. Maybe, do you know this law?
No.
Okay, this law says that hotels cannot be located in residential buildings of the city. And these guest houses are small. We have only 19 rooms. And also we have guests from different countries.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
All right. Alexandra, thank you very much for your presentation. You can stop sharing your screen for now, and we would like to invite our next participant for today. So we would like to invite Mironova Anastasia. Anastasia, if you are ready, start sharing your screen. Let's do the quick mic check. Alright. Anastasia is here.
She has connection problem.
She has connection problems. Well, then I suppose we give the floor to our next contestant for now. So Anastasia Dovgun. I'm sorry if I pronounce your last name incorrectly. If you are ready.
That's okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I really like so you could see me as I see you. Hi, my name is Nesta, and I'm going to show you my report on a quite cool team. So I will show you my presentation, and then I'll turn my camera on again so I can ask you, so you can ask me questions and I can answer them. So just a second. I'm going to share my screen. I think it would be better if I stop video. So, hello again. Your attention is drawn to the report of the problems and prospects of the development of virtual tourism in Khabarovsk territory. So it's a very important thing for me because I live here. So the purpose of the study to identify and analyze the problems and prospects of the development of virtual tourism in Khabarovsk territory. You can see research objectives. They are quite simple. They are to consider the concept of virtual tourism, to identify the problems and opportunities for the development of virtual tourism in Khabarovsk territory, and explore the experience of virtual tourism in Russia and abroad. So, there are many concepts of virtual tourism today. The main ones are presented on the slide, so you can read them. The concept is considered as a type of activity, a specific infrastructure, a type of tourism, and a technology of visualization of information. To summarize, it can be concluded virtual tourism is a type of tourism that uses specialized visualization technologies to allow travel to real-life destinations without actually traveling to them. It also can be seen as a new element of marketing strategy of a business. So, virtual tourism, therefore, may be seen as a way of realistic representation, three-dimensional multi-element space, and also as an excursion in information space. Thus, we can conclude that virtual tour is one way of presenting visual information. So, as you can see, virtual travel is more comfortable, convenient, and safer because it takes place within the conveniences of the home. Virtual tourism technologies allow you to recreate a three-dimensional space as realistically as possible using different technologies. We will talk about them a little bit later. The notions of virtual tour and virtual tourism are examined, and it can be concluded that virtual tourism may include, for example, an online visit to Louvre or even a computer simulation of the moon landing, if it's proved, of course, that it's based on documentary materials. But, for example, a trip to a planet Pandora, extremely realistically created by James Cameron in the film Avatar, cannot be classified as virtual tourism. So, let's speak about technologies. There were lots of presentations about technologies of virtual tourism, so I just going to name them. They are virtual reality goggles, spherical panoramas, virtual maps, 3D models of objects to show, photo and video, QR codes that allow you to quickly open a page with a website or app. So today we are going to study the experience of virtual tourists abroad in Russia, using the example of Louvre and Russian project Artifact. Now here on the slide, you can see Louvre excursion. There are lots of excursions really, but I think one of the most interesting is tour of the Egyptian Culture Hall. So, as you can see on the slide, we can see pictures of the museum objects, read their descriptions, and even imagine ourselves as locals at this time, because we can imagine ourselves how would we see at these objects if we would live that time. So, about Russia. VR and AR technologies in Russia are just entering the mass market, and they're just attracting attention of the customers and business. One of the most famous and important project is Project Artifact. It's a reality guide to Russian museums. This project was founded in 2017 and includes more than 300 museums. So slide shows you famous Russian museum. You can see almost right now interesting information about Alexander III and about his time. So there are also some museums of Khabarovsk Krai. It's in there also audio guide. So the app works quite simply. The user points his smartphone camera at the objects and receives full information. He can hear not only audio guides, but also see missing fragments of the work, sketch, and the view before restoration. So, in order to identify problems of virtual tourism development in Khabarovsk Krai, I decided to start a research in which took part more than 200 people. They all are residents of Khabarovsk Krai with different ages. So they were asked 8 questions to find out their opinion of residents about the problems and prospects for the development of virtual tourism. So the results of the main question, so do you think virtual tourism should be developed in Khabarovsk Krai, are showed on the slide. And as you can see, about 66% said that it's necessary to develop virtual tourism anyway. Thus, it can be concluded that virtual tourism is a promoting area for the development of the region in which locals are interested. So here on the slide, you can see project artifact and Khabarovsk Museum, Gordekovsky Museum. If we would like to compare Russian experience and foreign experience, we can say that virtual reality technologies are more actively used in tourism. And as for today, Khabarovsk territory has real low quality of virtual services. And I think it's a real problem. So there are a number of problems that harm development of virtual tourism in Khabarovsk area. Two of the most important is lack of technical equipment in the culture and leisure institutions, and the number of technological resources is really limited. So new methods and information technologies are really necessary to develop virtual tourism in my area. Khabarovsk Krai has a great potential for the development of virtual tourism with a huge number of different resources that can be moved to a virtual space. And the region's locals actively use technologies already. There not so far was a great exhibition at a contemporary art center about the history of Nivelskoy, which was held using special animating paintings, which started to move, and audio guide appeared using smartphone cameras. This was a huge success, which tells us that locals are really interested in developing virtual technologies, and it's very necessary to develop it in our area. So, however, it's very important, but for today, virtual reality cannot replace real tourism, but I think in the nearest future it can be so. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Do you have any questions? Who would like to start?
One second, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hello again.
All right.
Question, please. It seems VR is going to take over the world. And I'm not going to be one of these people I'm not interested in it. I like to touch, I like to feel, I like to smell. If I walk around anywhere, I like to smell what's going on and things like that. And this brings me on to VR now. Everywhere you go, people have got a smartphone and they take photos, you know. With VR, how can you take a photograph and a selfie with the same sort of feeling that you get if you actually visited somewhere, and with a telephone, and you want to take a picture. How can you do it in VR?
Well, it's a good question. It's about one.
I know.
Well, it's one of the disadvantages of virtual tourism. It's almost impossible to take pictures and then show them to your relatives or especially to your grannies. I guess maybe screenshots may be taken, and virtual tourism will be developed quite quickly, and I think this problem will be solved. Maybe after your little virtual travel, you'll be given some photos, like here is something, I guess, Paris, and here is Rome. It can be extremely realistically recreated.
Okay, and just the second one, again on VR, you said it's confined to the home. How does the individual get the piece of equipment?
Can you repeat again your question, please?
Sorry, on your slide you said it can be, you are confined to the home. And how does the individual then get the piece of VR equipment to use in the home? Do they hire it?
Maybe. I can find a good answer to this question. I guess, yes.
Okay, well, it was going to be yes or no, but that was okay. That's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess I would have a question about, how or what will happen with the development of this, virtual tourism here. I mean, is it going to have an economic impact, or how does it get promoted? Again, somewhat related to John's comment, how do you get it in the home to begin with? Is someone going to a store to purchase the virtual reality, or do they go to a shop? How is this going to be marketed, so to speak?
Well, I guess some people, of course, will go to the market and buy virtual reality goggles. And if we will start using technologies in our museums and different art centers, people of region, locals, will understand how cool is virtual reality may be, and maybe they will then later buy them to their home, and we all going to travel only in virtual space.
I mean, I'm a little curious, why would you go to the museum to put on a virtual reality glass? Why wouldn't you just, have the program shipped to you somehow via internet or whatever?
Well, it may be a little bit. It might take lots of money from you, of course, and in museum you can pay a little price and then go there. Maybe it's also very important to keep in touch with people. So if you're home alone and using a program, it's not as good as if you're going with your friend to the museum and use the same program, but you're with your friends.
All right.
Just as a follow-up on that with Mark, why would someone go to a museum and wear goggles to look at something? For example, I'm a widower, I'm by myself. If I want to go somewhere, I want to go and realistically experience being there. VR to me is just something that is so-so.
Why? You can
Sorry,
travel. you can travel to the past. It's not about traveling to real destinations at this time. You can go to the Paris of the 19th century, and museum is a great way to show it. So firstly, you educate and you study some culture, and then you put yourself there using virtual technologies.
But it's not the same.
You mean traveling?
Well,
to,
you know, you've got the excitement of
study.
actually packing, booking, sorting out an itinerary, the experience of being hassled and everything else when you get to the airport, all the things that actually sort of make your holiday trip either good or not so good. And you can come back with your camera full of photographs and things like that, and you can actually sit down and explain to friends and everything else and share the experience, because it's about word of mouth and saying, oh look, I went to St. Petersburg, it was very, very good, the architecture was extremely interesting, blah 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 blah. You can't do the same thing with VR, I don't think.
Of course.
Because everyone is doing the same thing. They're watching the same thing. Whereas if you actually go in person, it's an individual experience.
Yeah, I see your point. And as I said, virtual reality tourism is not as good as real tourism for now. And in the nearest future, it may be replaced, and maybe some new technologies will appear, but now it's very hard to replace real tourism with virtual. But as you said, if you're showing your friends pictures taken by you, they are traveling in virtual reality. They experience your travel using virtual technologies. So it may be also it may also be virtual tourism.
That's a very good answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Well, all right. Then I guess we can leave it here for now as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Anastasia. Yeah. You did already stop sharing your screen. So let me double check if Anastasia Mironova is here. Let me double check. Well, according to the attendees, she is. So yeah, I see the presentation. All right. Are you ready to start?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
Wait a minute, please. Okay. Dear participants of the conference, my name is Anastasia, and I present to your attention a report on the search for new tourist programs within the framework of the project Silver Nickel of Russia. The northwestern region on the European part of our country is rich in various resources, on the basis of which many programs are developed on and organized for tourists interested in nature-oriented and cultural travel. The resources are also of global importance as they are included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Most of these objects are used in the project Silver Ring of Russia, developed by scientists of St. Petersburg State University in 2005. The particularity of the location of the region makes it possible to decide international programs, which we are sure after the remove quarantine barriers will again be in demand both domestic and foreign tourists. In 2015, a new interregional tourism project operates in our country called Silver Nickel of Russia. It is relevant as we could see by visiting the tourist exhibition of Intermarket, which was held in April this year in the Expo Center of Moscow. 10 subjects of the Russian Federation present their proposals for new routes of this project at this exhibition. These routes were organized in such directions: all cultural and educational, pilgrimage, water, environmental, rural, and children. Some of the programs present art related environmental. Russian World is celebrates an important day this year, the 800th anniversary of the birth of the defender of the Russian land, Saint Alexander Nevsky. The personality of the prize and his excellence are directly related to the St. Petersburg regions. In the host of Saint Alexander Nevsky, who is responsible for the well-being of our city, has a special role to play. Therefore, we, after a new tourist road, Shadow of the Russian Land, decided to the memory of the great prince. In these roads, we suggest using not only the fortresses of the medieval world associated with the life and victory of Alexander Nevsky himself, but also objects that reflect the great history that established Russians right to the Baltic lands. After all, even after Alexander Nevsky, Russia defended the borders then that were approved in the 13th century. No wonder that is our time there new objects, monuments, memorial complex, temples, created in honor of the glory of Russian weapons. Such are, for example, the monument to Saint Prince Alexander Nevsky, erected on the free anniversary of St. Petersburg on the square near the Alexander Nevsky Lavra, where the relics of St. Alexander rest in the Trinity Cathedral. Another monument was erected at the confluence of the Izhor River with the Neva River, where the famous Battle of 1914 took place. Of course, our project includes Old Ladога, the oldest Russian strong fortress in the northwest. Today, there is a museum reserve in which tourists are told that this is first capital of Russia, since it was here that Rurik and his squad arrived. In the church of St. George, located here, Prince Alexander played in front of battle on the Neva, where he received the prefix to him named Nevsky. And the fresco of the church, the miracle of George about the separates, is perceived as a symbol that the prince achieved victory not only with weapons, but also with the word of God. As you can see, our prince without a spear, which later became canonical in most images. Nearby, on the high bank of the Grey Volkhov, it is Nikolsky Monastery. It was, according to legend, founded at the behest of Alexander himself in honor of the great victory. Many monasteries in the Middle Ages served as outposts that protected the approaches to the Russian borders. Such, for example, it is famous Tikhvinsky Monastery, which has repeatedly stopped the Swedish in their claims to Russian lands. Many assumed fortness for region are associated with Alexander himself and his sons and grandsons. Such are, for example, the fortress Areshik and the fortress of Kaporia, but the fortress the appeared later took the oldest of Nevsky as commandments. No wonder Peter, who founded the city, which later became the capital of Russian Empire, ordered the transfer of the oracles of Saint Alexander to Saint Petersburg. The forts of Kronstadt fit perfectly into the object-if-out project. How many times did the defender of the fortress have to stop the enemy who wanted to capture St. Petersburg? Among them are Swedish, the English, the French, and German. One of the largest castles in Northern Europe are located in the territory of the city of Viborg, which has preserved its medieval architecture, was recycled by Peter the Great during the Northern War. Now it is in interesting museum which we always invite our guests to see. The history of the approval of the borders of Russia is also connected with the city of Sestrorets, which is part of St. Petersburg agglomeration. A new museum complex, Sestroretsky Rubezh, is also being formed here. Visit it, you can learn a lot about the famous Karelian fortified area and its importance in the defense of Leningrad during the Great Patriotic War. They are pleased to note that finally, the forts on the southern shore of the Gulf of Finland begin to pay attention. We believe in that after some time, a visit to the forts Krasnogorka and Sierra Loshet can be included in the excursion programs, even for tourists with special health conditions. The Battle of Leningrad. This is how the history book established the Battle of 1941 and 1944. There are a great many monuments worthy of being included in the program, but in St. Petersburg itself and the suburbs. One of them was created along the line of defense of Leningrad during the siege. This is the so-called Green Belt of Glory. It is the longest monument on Earth. Its length is 22 kilometers. One of the sections of this memorial run around the roads of life, which connect Leningrad with the mainland with a thin thread. It was used to transport people from the beside city, and it was used to deliver food and weapons to the hero city. During the tour along the road of life, we always show the numerous monuments located around the roads. Some of them cause a strong emotional reaction in both us and our guests. There, for example, the conquest page of Tanya Savicheva diary, the Eternal Flame at the Torn Ring Memorial, where the path along Ladoga began. There are a lot of monuments to Polutarka, a truck that worked on the roads of life. This is one of them. The truck sank. After the war, it was raised from the bottom of Lake Ladoga and became an internal reminder on the honor of war. In a short speech, we cannot list all the monuments and places that can be included in our proposed project. There are a lot of them. They are included to people of defended generation who want to know the history of our country. However, I would like to museum some new facilities. First, after a major reconstruction, two museums were opened. The first, it is Leningrad's Defense Museum, located in the very center of the city. Now it is modern, as it is customary in our time to say interactive museum with excellent technological equipment. Another renovated museum is located on the shore of Lake Ladoga. This is Museum of the Road of Life. It used modern technology of show and telling about the available exhibition. The location of the former village of Marina on the bank on the Neva River, where the siege of Leningrad was broken in January 1943 as results of Operation Iskra. It's well known to many. Here is a museum diorama telling how it was possible as a result of the bloody battle to connect part of the Leningrad and Volkhov front. But another museum also opened here. It was called Breakthroughs. Visitors seems to fall into the tensions in the area of Nevsky Petachok. Lights and noise effect mean the impression that you are at the forefront of the front. The tower can rather be called not a showman's story, but an included performance, during which the meaning of the world attributes to Alexander Nevsky became a little clearer to modern person. God is not in power, but is trust. No wonder the orders of Alexander Nevsky were arrived to the heroes who proved themselves to be true different of their native land. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Anastasia. Any questions, please?
I've
Yes.
got one. No, go on,
Oh.
go on. Ladies first.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for your presentation, and there are a lot of attractions in your presentation. So what is your favorite and why?
This is my favorite.
Attraction.
Okay. Mm, I like all attractions, but in my opinion, the most interesting it is Breakthrough Museum.
So, and why?
Because it's a museum. It is museum during the Great Patriotic War, and I so national person, and this museum are very very interesting for me, and I always cry in this museum.
So did you visit it?
It's hard for me.
Did you visit it?
Yes, I visited.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Thank you for your question.
Okay. Your presentation is about primarily the silver ring, but of course, in the presentation there was also mention about the gold ring and the Scandinavian ring, the rings linking St. Petersburg with parts of Scandinavia. How are they? How do they interact?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes, you have the silver ring, you have the gold ring, then you have the Scandinavian ring, and the silver ring is about travel within St. Petersburg.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, the gold ring and the Scandinavian ring, go outside Russia. How are the three rings linked together? Do the tourist authorities work together with regards to tourists coming from Scandinavia to visit on the Scandinavian ring or the golden ring?
I thought about new ring. It is will be a bit a bit silver nuclear of Russia and silver ring and new objects and a bit new objects. It's will more small ring than a gold ring or something else.
All right. Any other questions since the camera is focused on me?
Yeah, the other thing was this is just an observation. Look, you had some very, very good pictures, and I thought they were really, really good. As a foreigner and having never visited Russia, I would have liked to have seen maybe some English titles on some of the maps, just to say what the area was about. Just so we had a better understanding of what the slide was about. But that's just an observation.
if I can
So Mike,
share my presentation again, I can show you other. Can you see my,
so I had a,
my presentation?
Yeah, it is loaded. We can see your presentation, yep.
In this picture, other ring in Russia. I told about silver ring. It is white ring, this. And this ring about ring I told they haven't, but it is Saint Petersburg. This you can see.
Yeah.
And I told about Saint Petersburg and region of Saint Petersburg. It is a very small ring. The silver ring is a big ring, but Saint Petersburg it's small ring. About from tourists who want to see Russia, but we haven't more time. This tour for 1 or 2 weeks only.
All right.
so what do you see as the main purpose of developing this new project of Roots? What is the primary purpose for it? I mean, is it how does it enhance tourism, or how does it serve that purpose?
Can you repeat, please?
What is the primary purpose of developing this new project of Roots? Is it to enhance the tourism only, or is there another purpose that it will attract more tourists, or what is the purpose that you see as the primary purpose for developing this silver ring?
Sorry, I have bad internet and
What is the main goal, the main purpose of your project? What is the biggest problem which your project solves? Why do we need another project? Why do you think your project is good? What does it have that other projects don't have?
My projects about my projects it is part of other projects, but my projects for tourists who haven't more time in Russia, who want and learn more about Russia, but we have not many money and many time for go to the gold ring or silver ring. And Saint Petersburg, it is a good region for about he have all history in old Russian history, and it is small roads, not small roads, but small kilometer about around the objects, and you will you can see other signs in Russia. but short time.
All right. Well, I guess that was extensive enough to leave it here for now. Thank you very much for your presentation, Anastasia. And that pretty much wraps it all up for us today. So that was our final presentation for today. We will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow time is going to be a little bit different, so we are going to start earlier. So make sure you look closely at tomorrow's schedule. And I guess we will see you around tomorrow. So once again, everyone who already has given their report, they are more than welcome to join us tomorrow as spectators. And the final results will be announced tomorrow as well. So stay tuned, as they say. And everyone have a good day, good night, or I don't know, good morning. I think we would not be appropriate here, unfortunately. But nevertheless, it was a fun session. I hope everyone had some good time, and we'll see you around tomorrow, unless there are some questions which you would like to address. All right. See you around. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the
Bye-bye.
event
See
and question. Have a nice
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Artem. Good night.
Good night. Good night. See you around.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks for the presentations.
Thank you.